You know, when you really boil it down, cybersecurity is all about solving problems. But what if we're spending all our time, all our energy, solving the wrong ones? It turns out our whole approach is often clouded by these myths that just won't go away, and they keep leading us down the wrong path. So let's start tearing some of those assumptions down.
I love this old marketing quote from Theodore Levitt. It really just hits the nail on the head for our challenge. See, in security, we get so obsessed with the tools, the drills, that we totally forget about the real goal, the whole. So what is our goal really?
Right? I mean, is it just about stopping malware or blocking phishing attacks? No, it's way, way more complex than that. The real answer is this messy, fascinating mix of technology and people. And it turns out our assumptions about both of those things, well, they can be our biggest vulnerabilities.
Okay, so let's dive in, starting with the mindset itself. We're going to tackle these cognitive traps, this kind of rigid thinking that can hold the entire field back. And we'll kick it off with one of the biggest, most pervasive myths out there.
We hear this constantly, right? Failure is not an option. It sounds so tough, so responsible. But here's the thing, that fear of failure can be absolutely paralyzing. It stops us from experimenting, and even worse, it stops us from learning the really crucial lessons, the kind you only get when things don't go according to plan.
And this is where a simple shift in how we talk about things can change everything. Think about it. When something goes wrong and you call it a failure, what happens? People look for someone to blame, and all the learning just stops. But if you reframe it as a negative result, suddenly it's not an ending, it's a finding. It's a valuable piece of data that tells us our hypothesis was wrong. And that, right there, is where real discovery actually begins.
All right, here's another mental trap we all fall into. This idea that for every single problem, there's one single perfect solution just waiting for us to find it. But the reality of cybersecurity, it's way messier than that. And honestly, that's what makes it interesting.
There's this great old motto from the Perl programming language, Tim To Titi, or as some people say, Tim Toady. It stands for there is more than one way to do it. And that's a perfect guide for us. In security, a good enough solution that you can actually implement today is infinitely better than some perfect solution that's stuck on a whiteboard forever. Flexibility is everything.
So this is a much better way to think about the landscape we're working in. It's not some straight road from point A to point B. No, it's a maze. It has a ton of different entrances, multiple ways out, and the paths inside, they're changing all the time. Oh, and yeah, there's a minotaur in there, an adversary actively trying to stop you. In a maze like that, there's just no such thing as a single correct path.
And that whole mindset, that search for the one right path, it leads us straight into our next big set of myths, the ones we tell ourselves about technology. We have this deep-seated desire to believe in a silver bullet, some miracle cure that can solve everything with just one piece of tech.
I get it. It's a really appealing idea, this myth of the complete solution. We all want that perfect little black box, right? The one that can look at any file and tell us with 100% certainty, yep, that's malware. The only problem is, thanks to a fundamental, unbreakable rule of computing, that box can't exist. And the reason why is this thing called the halting problem. It's a really famous core concept in computer science. And what it proves, basically, is that you can't create one single program that can analyze any other program and know for sure if it will eventually stop or just loop forever. You just can't predict all of its possible behaviors ahead of time.
Okay, so what does that mean for us? Well, here's the bottom line. If we can't predict every single thing a program might do, then we can't build a tool that can perfectly detect every single piece of malicious code. Every malware scanner, every EDR, every single security tool we have is, by definition, just an approximation. A really helpful one for sure, but never, ever a perfect one.
So if a perfect algorithm is off the table, what about this other myth? The one that says we can just solve everything with big data. You know the thinking, if we just collect everything, every log, every packet, surely we'll be able to spot the attacks. But it's not quite that simple.
Just yelling more data doesn't magically give you more clarity. In fact, sometimes collecting way too much data can actually make it harder to see the very threats you're looking for.
Because think about it. In these massive data sets, the actual signal, the tiny little trace of an attack, is often just a microscopic fraction of the overwhelming noise of everyday normal activity. Trying to find that one specific needle in a haystack the size of a continent,
It's an unbelievably hard challenge. More data often just means, well, more noise.
Which brings us to our final technology myth, this big push for ruthless automation. And the idea makes sense on the surface, right? If we just automate everything, we can cut costs, speed things up, and take those, error-prone humans out of the loop.
But automation really has a very specific sweet spot. I want you to think of one of those fast food ordering kiosks. It's awesome for routine stuff. If you want a burger and fries exactly as it's listed on the menu, it's super fast, super efficient. But it can't handle anything new or unexpected. Automation is great for threats we already know about, but it completely falls apart when it sees something brand new, something it has never been trained on before.
And that is where people are amazing. Like Isaac Asimov said, the most exciting phrase to hear in science isn't eureka. It's, that's funny. An automated system can't have that moment. It can't spot some subtle, weird little anomaly and think to itself, that's funny. But a human analyst can, and that skill is absolutely irreplaceable.
Which brings us perfectly to our final section, and it's all about the people. Because in cybersecurity, the human element isn't some bug that we need to engineer out of the system. It's a feature. It's actually our greatest asset. But you guessed it, we have a ton of myths here too.
You see this argument play out online all the time. You've got one camp saying you absolutely need a college degree, that it's essential. Then you have the other camp saying degrees are useless and they just get in the way of real-world skills. And like with most things that are black and white, the truth is somewhere in the gray area. Both of these extremes are myths.
And this degree-required myth, it has real, serious consequences. Get this. One study found that a full 60% of entry-level cybersecurity jobs required a college degree. That kind of gatekeeping can filter out a massive number of talented, super-motivated people who could be a perfect fit for the field.
CISO Helen Patton just puts it perfectly. We've created this classic chicken and the egg problem. We're demanding that people have years of experience for the very jobs that are supposed to give them that experience. It's a system that can end up suffocating the very talent it claims it's looking for.
So this really reframes the whole conversation, doesn't it? Maybe the problem isn't a talent shortage. Maybe it's actually a shortage of imagination and how we hire and how we find and develop talent from all the different places it comes from.
And that brings us to our final thought, a really provocative question to leave you with. By focusing so much on hiring experienced incident responders, are we just training more and more firefighters to put out the blazes that we know are coming? Or should we be investing more of our time and energy in teaching everyone, developers, engineers, the whole team, how to build with less flammable wood right from the start? Something to think about.